stretch. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Hell, even those Prime Angus Wagyu and Angus and Wagyu burgers are incredible. Folks, they're the best I've ever had. Sorry, I got distracted for a second here. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you've ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com on your mobile device or your computer. Also, if you don't want to do that, give them a call. Find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. What a great name. Love that name. Uppercut Chops. Gotta like that. All right, continue on with that applause. All right, welcome into everybody watching on Instagram, Facebook, and AmpTV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Welcome into everybody watching on television, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW cable television providers, Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, as well as all of our listeners on CBS, NBC, Fox, and independent affiliates from coast to coast on the radio. Yes, this is a real FCC-regulated radio show, not a podcast, like all these 2 million odd podcasts out there. Sorry, folks, we do a real show, not to be confused with one of those fix it in the mix type of shows, if you know what I mean. All right, so leading off, how about this one? You know, a lot of people like to go on those vacations. They like to see, the 7 wonders of the world. They're amazing. You go to the national parks and blah, blah, blah. And then you got these idiot TikTokers. These absolute idiot TikTokers. And I say that, I'm not an idiot TikToker. I'm not a TikToker at all. I just go about my business, do what I do. But then you've got these morons that try to make a spectacle of themselves. And they're monetizing everything they do. So be it. It's capitalism at its finest. Go make a bunch of money. But don't wreck things along the way. You know what I mean? So how about this one? A moronic TikToker does what? And you may think it sounds like basically nothing, but guess what? It is something. Hits a golf ball into the Grand Canyon. First of all, it's illegal to do that. You don't do that. And we'll get into why in just a few moments. But now, this alleged moronic TikToker now faces charges for hitting that golf ball into the Grand Canyon. That's right, this is out of the Washington Post. A specific TikToker, we won't say the name because we're not going to give him any pub, has pulled stunts including bowling a pumpkin and throwing a fake cinder block at cars. But one of the social media wannabe superstars recently did a little something that she shouldn't have done, got her into a little bit of trouble. And of course, officials from the national park say, do we really need to say don't hit golf balls into the Grand Canyon? So officials of the national park wrote that, of course, on Facebook about a week ago, attaching a screenshot of that moron apparently hitting a ball over the rim of the geological wonder and losing part of her club in the process. What a blithering idiot. And of course, quote, throwing objects over the rim of the canyon is not only illegal, but also can endanger hikers and wildlife who may be below. Close quote. And that was, of course, from the officials with the Grand Canyon National Park. Now, that moron social media wannabe star is now facing charges for her illegal stunt, and she didn't immediately respond to the Washington Post request for comment. Of course, had 3 pending misdemeanors, and those counts related to littering, creating a hazardous condition, and throwing objects over the canyon rim, park spokeswoman Joelle Beard said. At Grand Canyon National Park, Joelle added, quote, we do take incidents like this really seriously, close quote. Now, the video was posted to social media accounts on maybe about a week or so ago, according to the park, and in it, she stands before the national landmark's iconic layered red rocks and takes a swing at a ball, and her club breaks into two with flying parts into the canyon, and of course, she spins to face the camera with her mouth open like everybody watching on TV. It's one of those. All right? Anyway, how did that happen? Reads the text on her lips. Of course, if you were a lip reader, you can kind of figure that out with a crying face emoji, whatever. It was no longer on her accounts as of this week, but somehow someone shared a screen recording it on Reddit where comments poured in blasting the woman and calling her to be banned from the canyon. Yes! That's good. And park officials had a number of people reporting this incident. Beard said members of the public helped point out the woman in a video. Within a couple of days of the video being uploaded, Grand Canyon law enforcement had tracked her down. Yes! That's good stuff. And of course, the perpetrator was not named in the park's Facebook post, but Beards identified her. And of course, she said a citation was filled with the U.S. District Court. It was filed in the U.S. District Court in Flagstaff. And of course, where that wannabe superstar now has to have a mandatory court appearance. And the date was not immediately available, but Beard said the misdemeanor counts each carry the potential of up to 6 months in jail and $1,000 of fine.
Show me the money!
Yeah, we got to like that. So this TikToker, of course, almost 7 million followers, almost 3 million on Instagram, whatever, appeared to have addressed this incident privately, not necessarily publicly, though she has continued posting on her social media accounts, whatever. But that's not the first golfing video to bring trouble. In fact, in October of 2021, the national park asked for the public's help in finding a man who hit a baseball over the rim, and of course, officials ultimately made contact with him, but it's unclear if charges were filed. Also, a Massachusetts comedian also faced charges after hitting a biodegradable golf ball, or golf balls, into Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. He later apologized, of course, to CBS News reporters. Now, look, none of this stuff is good. Beard said the Grand Canyon National Park authorities are really bent out of shape with this one, and they see these kinds of incidents happen on a regular basis. And she had said, quote, "This is not something that we want to encourage in any way, and in fact, it's really dangerous and harmful to Grand Canyon and the people who visit," close quote. How about zero regard for nature? What about the animals that can not only get hit with a dangerous high-speed flying ball, but what if they eat the ball, right? They could possibly choke and die if they pick it up. There's a lot of big game around there. There's bull, there's bighorn sheep, there's mountain lions, there's all kinds of crazy critters over there. So guess what? That is the basis for the jail time part in this. And of course, this is a bigger problem than you may think, people. Imagine, let's get this a little closer to home. If someone hits something at your dog or cat at a high speed, hits the cat or dog, what happens if it dies? All right, what happens if it doesn't do that? What if it finds it, picks it up, starts chewing on it? What if it chokes on it? And then it chokes to death? That's how the masses can actually wrap their head around this one. And believe me, the Grand Canyon National Park is a big deal. But if you're doing this, period, well, you don't have any regard for the animals, maybe the hikers, or even anybody but yourself at this point. So stop being so damn selfish, social media people. Seriously, enough is enough. Now, sticking with hitting the ball in the daytime or nighttime, how about this? How about U.S. Congress? Yeah, we got something for Congress. Split on making what? Daylight savings time permanent. You know, a lot of people talk about this. It's kind of coming up, right? And so, of course, this is according to Reuters out of Washington, a post in the U.S. Congress, or a push as well, in U.S. Congress to make daylight savings time permanent, which was unanimously passed by the Senate earlier this year, has stalled in the House, with a key lawmaker telling Reuters they have been unable to reach consensus. Why is it so damn difficult? In March, the Senate voted to put a stop next year to the twice annual changing of clocks, which supporters say will lead to brighter afternoons and more economic activity. Maybe so. U.S. Representative Frank Pallone, who chairs the Energy and Commerce Committee that has jurisdiction over the issue, said in a statement to Reuters, the House is still trying to figure out how to move forward. Now, Pallone, a Democrat, said he's adding that opinion and adding that opinions in general break down by region, not by party. Okay, fine. So now we have maybe a bipartisan issue. So be it. Quote, we haven't been able to find consensus in the House on this yet. There are a broad variety of opinions about whether to keep status quo or to move to a permanent time. And if so, what time should that be? Close quote. Of course, legislative aides told Reuters they don't expect Congress to reach agreement by the end of the year. So let's just waste another year doing it. Now, daylight savings time, of course, has been in place in nearly all the United States since the 1960s. So that's a long time. Now, of course, year-round daylight savings time was used during World War II and adopted again in 1973 in a bid to reduce energy use because of an oil embargo and repealed the next year. Now, Pallone said, we don't want to make a hasty change and then have to reverse it several years later after public opinion turns against it, which is exactly what happened in the 1970s. So, of course, you know, folks, that change is coming up in just a couple of days or so, and people will forget, oh, that's right, I have an extra hour of sleep. So anyway, pay attention to this stuff, folks, and pay attention to all those issues that you'll be voting on real soon, because believe me, this affects everybody. You, me, and the masses. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Zomerhits,
klopvaste actua,
de leukste cadeaus. Donna.
The sound of summer.
Radio Donna.
Hi. Radio, radio, radio. City Radio FM. Radio, radio. City Radio.
Today's best music, C100.
NXW Trenton Kicks 101.5. The music you love to hear.
WRFM, Stereo 105.
You're listening to 97 WYNY. WYNY.
C100. WAYB FM 95 Atlantic City.
Why isn't this an awkward moment?
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, maybe somebody hit a golf ball through your window, you need a lawyer, and hit somebody in the head. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can help. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. Or email them for more info at info@nocourt.us. Yes! All right, welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, plus independent affiliates. From coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody that may be listening in with our friends over on CNBC and NBC News over in California, as well as right here in Las Vegas Public Radio, KQQY. Big news coming for them pretty soon. Can't spill the beans just yet, folks. Welcome into everybody on WDJY. Good morning for everybody over there. You'll be hearing this first thing in the morning. And, of course, we want to make sure we welcome everybody in Auburn, Alabama, home of the no longer Brian Harsin Auburn Tigers. Hopefully they'll have a better replacement after that guy was canned. Thank God for that one. Just a round of applause there. And Brian may be a nice guy, but guess what? As a coach, yeah, not so good in the SEC. Anyway, welcome in. That is the home of the world champion Atlanta Braves. Yes, they still are the world champion Atlanta Braves until somebody claims that crown. That stretches from Columbus, Georgia, all the way over to Montgomery, Alabama. Thanks for joining us there. Also, those picking up our content over in Lubbock, Texas on KTXT 88.1 FM, home of Texas Tech University Raider Radio. Nice round of applause for them, plus all of our other independents from coast to coast. All right, now, so we had weather change, or we had time changes. We had golf balls hitting into the Grand Canyon. You never know what the hell you're going to get here on the Sports Circus, and once in a while we will cover what? Racing. That's right. You know, I have a newfound respect for auto racing, which I didn't all the way up until back in June when I drove inside of one of those NASCARs. I was a passenger doing over 200 miles an hour in one of those NASCAR cars over where? At Daytona. Where else would you do it, right? So I happened to do it, and of course I'm wearing shorts, flip-flops, and whatever. And of course the driver's got the full fire retardant everything. I had a helmet on, though. Full fire retardant suit and whatnot. And I have to tell you, folks, I had no idea what it was like to really drive inside of one of those. And there's a lot going on in that car. And I used to say, oh, yeah, if you could drink a beer and do it, then it's not a sport. Well, with that, and I used to say racing was one of those. I don't think you could really drink a beer and drive one of those NASCAR cars, if you know what I mean, at the same time. To me, it's just not possible. There's just way too much going on. And, of course, you're also going at 200 miles an hour, right? So you got to watch out. You're sitting in heavy traffic, and once false move, and your car will do 45 somersaults. Nonetheless, pretty good stuff. We do have racing for you right now. How about Joe Gibbs racing, right? But this actually deals with his team. But how about this? How about Ty Gibbs? Ty Gibbs faces consequences for what? Wrecking his way into the title for a race. Yes, wrecking his way. There's a headline you don't hear very often. This one's out of the Associated Press out of Phoenix. Ty Gibbs knew his teammate had to win the final regular season race to qualify for the Xfinity Series Championship. Well, and yet Gibbs still spun Brandon Jones out of the lead. Of course, that deserves a round of boos. On the final lap, mind you, at Martinsville Speedway, as Gibbs picked up his 6th win of the season. That's not the way to do it, folks. That is cheating, period, in my opinion. And, of course, he had just settled for second place. Had he had done that, Gibbs and Jones would have both advanced to the title race to give Joe Gibbs Racing a pair of Toyotas in the winner-take-all 4-driver championship finale at Phoenix Raceway. So why didn't he do it? Well, Gibbs said this at the Phoenix Convention Center. Quote, "It comes down to just caught in the moment. And you know, selfish actions led to that." Close quote. Yeah, well, maybe that's the truth, but why wreck somebody else just so you could cheat your way into the winner's circle? That's a bunch of BS. In fact, this kid's 20 years old. Ty Gibbs, his grandfather, Joe Gibbs, you probably heard of him, Hall of Famer, of course, in both NASCAR and the National Football League, and owner of, well, one of NASCAR's top organizations, had a miserable week. Ty Gibbs had a miserable week in preparation for racing for his first national championship, and he created it himself by preventing Jones from winning at Martinsville, where the crowd chanted, quote, "Thank you, Grandpa," close quote. Right? And of course, as Gibbs celebrated the win. So obviously, they were very unappreciative of that. And then after the race, in an interview, Gibbs compared himself. Are you ready for this one? Are you sitting down? You better lie down. He compared himself to Jesus when asked about being NASCAR's newest villain. What doesn't matter with this kid? He says, quote, "I always go back to the same verse that Jesus was hated first among the people." Close quote. Shut up. In fact, Gibbs said he regrets the comment and said he didn't deliver the line in quite the way he intended. But he regrets just about everything from the race that he's been basically on an apology tour, and Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously. And, well, with Jones and with Toyota, which is furious that one of his cars was knocked out of the championship, on top of it, on the last lap. Now, because of Ty Gibbs' dirty move, the title race comes down to one Toyota driver and 3 Chevys from the JR Motorsports trio of Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, and good old Justin. Now, drivers from every series, including Gibbs' veteran teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing, have criticized Gibbs for Martinsville, and his rivals are piling on headed into the finale. In fact, Gragson said, quote, "He doesn't care. He lives in a fantasy land. I have no clue, honestly, what goes through his mind. It's got to be badass to live in that kind of world where you just have no real consequences or anything," close quote. I think that's a guy with sour grapes. I don't blame him. His grandfather, however, insisted there would be consequences for his grandson. Ty Gibbs said he doesn't know what they will be, but he'll accept any punishment that's headed his way. And he's expected to be named the replacement for Kyle Busch in the number 18 Toyota. Big round of boos there in the Cup Series. One of the top rides in NASCAR. And, of course, Gibbs doesn't know if Martinsville has changed that. So Joe Gibbs said, quote, "When tough things happen, and certainly nobody wanted that to happen, I said, now there's consequences. And so we're trying to walk through those with him. Ty is walking through it. I'm walking through it. And we're still in that process. And it's something that was the heat of the battle. Everything is taking place. Everything is taking place. There was so much going on," close quote. Come on, Joe. You're going to make excuses for your grandson. Give me a break. The kid knew what he was doing. Complicating the situation is that Jones is leaving Joe Gibbs Racing after the next race to drive for JR Motorsport next season and has no real reason to help Gibbs win the championship. In fact, he could actively prevent him from the title by working with his future JR management teammates or motorsport teammates out of spite. How do you like that one? Additionally, Jones's father, JR, is an executive chairman at Rheem, which is a major sponsor for Christopher Bell at Joe Gibbs Racing. And of course, Bell will be racing for the Cup title, and Rheem has given no indication it will take any action against the organization for Jones's disappointing end with the team. So Ty Gibbs is a successful driver. We know that. He's won his NASCAR debut in 2021. It's won 10 out of 50 starts, unlike Danica Patrick, who's 0 for life. And of course, he won the ARCA Championship last season and has been doing double duty since July as the injury replacement in the Cup Series for concussed driver Kurt Busch. Now, Gibbs will make his 16th Cup appearance the day after he races for the Xfinity Championship. Pretty interesting. Anyway, but Gibbs also has been an aggressive driver. Everybody knows that. He even uses the word dirty to describe some of his on-track tactics. And, of course, has been hammered multiple times for multiple incidents, even before Martinsville. So he's got a fight. This guy even got into a fight on pit road with Sam Meyer, in which Joe Gibbs, while wearing the helmet, or better yet, Ty Gibbs, while wearing the helmet, began throwing punches at him. In fact, as NASCAR fined Gibbs $75,000 for a pit row incident, including the Cup Series, in which he nearly forced a competitor's car into the pit crew members on top of it. Well, this guy's a real piece of work. So Coy Gibbs is the vice chairman of Joe Gibbs Racing, and Ty is his son. He defended him, of course, in the past, and while admitting that Martinsville race was disappointing, Coy still had his son's back. He said, quote, "Look, he's my kid. I appreciate his aggression, but sometimes you got to pull back a little bit. This is a place where we need to pull back some. Just talk to him and explain to him that doing that affects not just him, but it affects our whole company, all of our sponsors, all the people we deal with. Toyota obviously affected Brandon." And of course, those are things that are not making thinking in this in a split second, but hopefully we can get it with him and educate him on those things, close quote. And look, Gibbs has a long way to go to change the crappy perception he's got out there. This guy has created an absolute train wreck of a image for himself, and it's not getting any better. So it's probably a good idea for him to just sit down, shut up, maybe go away for a little bit, come back after things have cooled a little bit, and then get up back in there and start racing the right way instead of spinning his way and wrecking his way into titles. Back here in a few minutes on the circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere, folks.
Excellent.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
So,
everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Cali Vegas can help people from getting out of sitting in traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Or email them at info@calivegas.com. That's info@calivegas.com. If you want to read about them, check them out online at www.calivegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. All right, welcome back to everybody. TV and radio, streaming on Instagram, Facebook, AMP TV, plus all of our television and radio networks. Thank you for joining us here. And of course, I'm going to shift into college football because we can. And of course, it's a big weekend in college football coming up. And let's face it, got some big games coming up too. And our friends over at Texas Tech have a very, very, very interesting game coming up. As a matter of fact, that's with undefeated Texas Christian. Texas Tech and TCU squaring off at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time, on the campus of TCU. That's going to be one hell of a game. In fact, they should play that game over in Dallas. They should play it at the stadium where the Cowboys play. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Play it at Jerry's house. Anyway, apparently the line is 8.5, but you never know what's going to happen. So you've got an undefeated Texas Christian team. But those guys are good. TCU is good, but Texas Tech can beat just about anybody. You never know which one's going to show up. These guys could drop 50 on you, but at the same time, they could also get beat by a large margin. I don't know. 8.5 points with Texas Tech seems like an awful lot of points. I'm inclined to take those points. You're hearing this from Sal the Bookmaker. Check placeyourbet.vegas out. Placeyourbet.vegas. Check it out. Winning percentage of well over 80% against the Vegas line. Yes.
Show me the money!
You got that right. Show me the money. You know why that Place Your Bet is over 80%? It's because Place Your Bet and Sal the Bookmaker does what? Follows the money. It's not the injury report. It's not who's doing whose girlfriend, wife, whatever the hell. None of that stuff matters. No, it matters of what the money wants. Why does it matter? Well, it's always mattered. Because let's face it, wherever there's a little bit less money, well, guess what's going to happen? That means Vegas is going to win more money. The sports books are going to win more money. The odds makers are doing this for a reason. They move those lines. In case you don't know anything about betting, you're wildly betting on all these fantasy sports things that they show on the television all the time. Well, bet with this one, bet with that one. Well, you could bet halftime. You could bet inning by inning, pitch by pitch, down by down, quarter by quarter, whatever the hell it is. People are just wildly betting. And think about this. If you come here to Las Vegas and you're betting on games, first of all, you have no control of the games. Nope. You're basically saying, okay, here's my money, and I'm going to take a chance. The problem is you don't have enough information to really risk your money. Because really, essentially, it's less than a 50% chance, because you think about, even if it is 50-50, well, there still is on the flat bets, on your straight bets, you're still paying juice to the house, right? Largely, it's going to be about 10%. So you put up 110 to win 100. So even if you have a coin flip of a chance, you're still losing 10% of your bet in the first place. So it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Now, does it? So you don't have enough information, but more importantly, if you're going to bet, you have to have the information where you do have an advantage. And that's half the battle right there. And so, frankly, if you don't have that information, now you got a bigger problem. Because really, you're just a coin flip and you're paying juice on it. Where's the logic in that? Go buy a lottery ticket. You can win $1.5 billion potentially. I think the odds are 292.5 million to 1 or something like that in the Powerball. So if you're inclined to make a bet, why not bet on something big? It's a long shot, but who the hell cares? You can change your life with $1.5 billion. But it's funny that $1.5 billion now, if you take the lump sum, I think it's down to 48%. You can make 48%. That's what you would clear if you took the catch lump sum, believe it or not. How crazy is that? All right, so back to this betting stuff. So look, if you're going to take these bets, you got to know what the hell you're betting on. If you don't know anything about it, check out placeyourbet.vegas. You'll get an explanation of what you need to know. It's an information company, folks. It's not a sports book. It's an information company where you can actually see how these things are done, why they're done, why the bets are made this particular way. Ask the experts, and you'll find out what Sal the bookmaker has to say when it comes to why Texas Tech will cover the 8.5, for example, in this example, whatever. Why Ohio State will cover the 38 when they travel to Evanston, Illinois, in suburban Chicago to play Northwestern. Ohio State is gearing up to try to take that number one spot. Let's think about this, folks. If Georgia beats Tennessee at home, arguably Georgia would be the number one team in the college football playoff. However, number two behind Tennessee is Ohio State. If Tennessee loses a tight game, Ohio State wins a blowout game on the road, they're going to get more votes likely for the number one slot in the college football playoff in week number 2 of the voting. That's why all this stuff matters. So these games against opponents like Northwestern with Ohio State should beat them by 100. But the reality is, well, guess what? Ohio State has to win, and they have to win big. So that's why likely they're going to cover the 38, and they can literally win 41-0 in that game. So they could actually stay under the total of 56. But if you really want to have some fun with it, maybe you'll see a 41-10 kind of game. Nah, I won't say 41-10. How about 47-7? There you go. This way Ohio State covers and they stay under the total. Because in many cases, folks, the favorite will win the game, but they'll stay under the total. So go back to that Texas Tech game. If Texas Christian wins, if TCU wins, they cover the 8.5. Chances are they're going to stay under the total of 69. So you could see a 34-24 kind of game, where you manage at 64 points, and of course that 10 points is covered. Hopefully we're not getting too deep in this for you, but this is a sports show. Yes, we do a little bit of prognostication as well from time to time. Moving on, it is North Carolina traveling to Blacksburg to play the Wahoos. So the 7-1 Tar Heels going to play the Wahoos of Virginia, who, frankly, they're not very good this year. Total is 61, and the line is 7. Carolina could score 61 by themselves. Chances are that one's going to go over. Are they going to cover the 7? Probably. Upstart Tulane is on the road playing the Golden Hurricanes at Tulsa. The 7-1, well, yeah, Tulane, the Green Wave is 7-1. I had to look twice at that. What? So out of the AAC, Tulane, remember we're used to seeing Cincinnati, Central Florida, Memphis, these teams out of there. But now it's Tulane, 7-1. It's their turn. Anyway, so they're 7.5, and 57 is the total. Tulane likely won't cover the 7.5 points. Tulsa will cover that 7.5 likely. And I don't know about the total, but it looks like Tulsa is the safe pick in that one. Purdue is hosting Iowa, a feeble Iowa team that maybe they scored some points in a recent game, but Iowa doesn't have a whole hell of a lot to offer. And Purdue is a wrecking machine offensively. So I'm not really sure how, well, frankly, I'm not really sure how Iowa stays in the game. And I looked at the, quote, experts' predictions in this alleged matchup. And unfortunately, when you look at the alleged matchup, you say, well, how the heck is Tulsa, or better yet, how is Iowa even going to stay in the game? How do they stay in the game with Purdue? I can't see it, folks. Purdue is 3. The line is 3. The total is 39. Purdue can play defense, but they're a good third down defensive team. So the line is 3 and 39. This looks like a Purdue cover and an under 39 points, maybe something to the tune of 28-10. That looks about right. This way they stay under the total of 39. Now going over to Madison, Wisconsin at Camp Randall Stadium, it's Wisconsin with their win, well, a couple of weeks ago off of Purdue. Purdue went into the bye week a little bit tired, and they are a 4-point favorite over Maryland. Maryland's 6-2. Not really sure about that one. Wisconsin's 4 and 49.5. They're likely going to stay under that total. I don't know about the game, though. But Tennessee and Georgia heading on over to the SEC. Georgia is 8.5 over the number 1 ranked team in the college football playoff. 8.5, folks. That's a lot of points. Now we're going to find out what Rocky Top's made of and see if Tennessee really has that number one in them. Of course, we're going to come back in the next segment. We're going to finish this up, but thinking about Tennessee getting 8.5, essentially as the number one team in the nation. I mean, if that's not a kick in the parts, I don't know what is. So at this point, Georgia, it's almost too good to be true, thinking if with Tennessee you're going to get 8.5. But you have to look at which way the money's going to lean on this one. And if you're following the money is already saying Georgia is going to cover this game. So if they've got Georgia 8.5, it's likely that Georgia's going to win this game by about 10 points, believe it or not. That's what the odds makers are thinking, and that's what the money has indicated so far. They're saying Tennessee is not very good on the road, so we're going to give this one to Georgia. When we come back, we're going to finish up with college football. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Circus.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Don't wait. Call right now. 888-794-1630. 888-794-1630. Write it down. 888-794-1630. Again, for the last time, 888-794-1630.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657-600-1876. That's American Business Trust Company. 657-600-1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast. It's the entire show recorded. We don't edit anything. It's just sent right to Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere, folks. You can't get away from us. So that's right on our homepage. Click on your favorite platform to listen to the show. And yeah, even on Audible, I like that. A lot of people like Audible. And so, again, if you missed any shows, in fact, everything's been updated. So now those are all up to date. The shows are up to date. Go to the schedule and you can figure out which show you want to watch. Maybe you saw, I don't know, your favorite sports figure or music figure or whatnot on the list of featured guests for the Sports Circus on thesportscircus.com. Go to that show and check it out. There's all kinds of great shows there to watch, and frankly, it's entertaining. Nice round of applause for that. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. One of those partners is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming events and games and the game schedule. Pick up your tickets there at csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right. And welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Of course, hotel television and over 500,000 rooms, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable TV, and of course, all of our other streaming friends on Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Like, subscribe, and follow. All right, left off with college football in the last segment, and we left off talking a little bit about, kind of cut it a little short, with Tennessee and Georgia. Tennessee visits Georgia. Tennessee is number 1 in the college football playoff, and they're number 3 in the AP Top 25. And so Georgia is number 1 in the AP 25. And of course, what? They're number 3 in the CFP playoff. So those two have kind of swapped spots. It doesn't matter. But we'll find out after this game between those two. And the odds makers have all the money going on Georgia right now. Georgia's up to 8.5. That's the current line. And of course, that's going to be played at Georgia. So I'm not really sure which way this one's going to go. But they do have the total at 66.5. I have a feeling that's going to be an unders total. That's Sal the Bookmaker. Check out placeyourbet.vegas for prognostication and information, sports information service. That's placeyourbet.vegas. All the information's there. A win clip of right around 85% against the Vegas line, all documented for all you that believe that it's not, for all you alleged experts in the 60-odd percentages where you're just basically above the VIG. Guess what? We are far above it, and we're doing it right. How do you like that? PlaceYourBet.Vegas, folks. All right, traveling out to Boulder, Colorado. It is Oregon. The 7-1 Bo Nix-led Oregon Ducks are playing the abysmal Colorado Buffaloes, and the Buffs are just a terrible team. Boy, they have seen better times. The line is 31.5. They got Bo Nix throwing 4 to 5 touchdowns in this one for Oregon. Well, you know, Auburn can certainly use him right about now, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so the 1-7 Buffs are they're hosting Oregon. Total 63. Oregon could probably score 63 on their own, but that ought to be one of those favorite and the unders as well. How about Penn State in a trap game? They're going to play at Bloomington, Indiana. That ought to be an interesting game. You know, Indiana's a pretty good club, and Penn State is a lofty 14-point favorite after giving Ohio State a little bit of a battle. And, of course, then they did cover. They covered the 13 points. 13.5, depends on what you had. But Penn State now was traveling to Bloomington, where Indiana has given clubs fits coming in there. And this is no cakewalk for Penn State. So the line is 14. Penn State's 14, and the total is 50. Not really sure about this one. I'm staying far away from this one. And how about the Thugs of Michigan State? Yeah, we're going to give them a boo. Sparty, we're booing you probably for the rest of the season because of how your players act in the tunnel against other teams. So somehow, Michigan State gets to play this game. They should be given a forfeit for the rest of the season for what they pulled against Michigan. Anyway, Illinois is a 17-point favorite. When's the last time Illinois has been a 17-point favorite over any team that's played in Michigan? It's been a very long time. And the over and under is 40.5. Michigan Well, Michigan State's not really a good offensive club. They only mustered up 7 points against Michigan. They lost some really bad games. They did beat Wisconsin earlier, but that's not saying too much. But Illinois is giving 17 to them, saying, yeah, come at our house. We'll still give you 17. We'll still win. Likely that game's going to go under. The only safe bet there is the under 40.5 points between the two. And basically, folks, that covers a 20-19 or basically a 21-17 game, and you're still in the clear there. How about Oak State? Oak State, after getting obliterated by Kansas State 48-0, travels to Lawrence, Kansas to play a reeling Kansas Jayhawks club, who started out 5-0. Now they're 5-3. I guess they got that game day curse. So anyway, Oak State is probably going to absolutely crush and destroy Kansas. I don't even see Kansas being on the same field with these guys. Oak State is still ranked. They're trying to look for a New Year's Day bowl game still. Yes, I would bet the farm. I'm going to bet as much as I can, because I can, on Oklahoma State to dismantle Kansas at home. All right, moving on to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is hosting Syracuse. Syracuse off of a rough game over in South Bend against Notre Dame. Anyway, Pitt is -3.5. Basically, the home field is worth 3 points in football, in case you don't know when it comes to betting. So they're saying, you know what, Pitt, if they played in a neutral stadium, Pitt would probably win the game. That's the half point, right? That's the hook. So Pitt is 3.5, and the total is 48. And the weather doesn't seem to be cooperating in Pittsburgh, so that could be a sloppy game. It'll be a windy game, if that, for sure. All right, moving on. Central Florida, Gus Malzahn goes over to Memphis. It's the 6-2 Central Florida Fighting Malzahns to play the Memphis Tigers at 4-4. Central Florida is -3, so basically, folks, they're saying they're 6 points better than Memphis. I'm not really sure about that, and that one will be a very tight game, and I would look for the unders in that low-scoring or lower-scoring game, under 59 points. That could still be, 28-21. Better yet, that could be a 28-24 game. That could be a 28-27 game. Even a 31-27 game, and still stay under the total. Trying to put this into perspective for you. 31-27, and they still stay under the total. That is a totals under bet, folks. Alabama travels to Death Valley to play LSU. The 7-1 Tide roll into Death Valley to play the 6-2 slow-starting Fighting Kellys. Well, guess what? LSU's playing good ball, but it's Alabama, folks. Alabama is -13.5 at LSU. That tells you what the odds makers think of LSU's chances to win that game. Roll Tide in that one. Alabama covers the 13.5. Texas, a very questionable and dubious Texas Longhorn club, travels over to Manhattan, Kansas to go play the streaking Kansas State Wildcats. Texas is 2.5 on the road. They're saying 2.5. They're saying Texas is better than Kansas State, period. They have better recruiting, but Kansas State is a better club. Folks, bring everything you got to the casino and consider the idea of betting with Kansas State on this one, because Kansas State should run away with this game. Notre Dame is hosting Clemson. Clemson is 3.5 points at South Bend. Clemson should be able to handle Notre Dame rather easily and hold on to that number 4 slot. Moving on, Michigan in a trap game travels over to New Jersey to play Rutgers. Rutgers, the home of college football. Google it, folks. You'll find out. Rutgers is actually where it all began. That's where it started, the whole college football, everything. So Rutgers at 4-4 is getting 26 from Michigan. That's a lot of points, but Michigan ought to win by 36. The 8-0 Wolverines should roll in that one. Rutgers will drop to below 500. Arizona, the Wildcats, travel up to Utah to play in a very difficult setting. Utah is -17.5, and they're 6-2, fighting for that Pac-12 title. Guess what? This one is Utah in a runaway and likely over 68.5 points. Wake Forest goes on over to Raleigh, North Carolina, right across state, and they're playing NC State, 2 6-2 teams locking up number 21 versus number 22. This one will likely be that kind of a matchup between 21 and 22. You expect a very tight game. And basically the odds makers are saying, look, Wake is a 6.5 point better team than what North Carolina State is. I don't necessarily believe that because Wake hasn't been challenged early on, whereas NC State's played tougher games earlier on. Watch out for NC State to win this game straight up. And they are playing at home, and they are a home team dog. Home team dogs tend to do pretty well when it comes to college football. And frankly, in football period, whether it's the pros or in college. How about this? How about over at the Coliseum? It's the Berkeley Bears against the University of Southern California. USC is a lofty 21.5 point favorite over the Cal Bears. The problem is USC doesn't seem to have any defense. They'll score 40, 50 a game. The problem is they're giving up 40 or 50 a game or 30 or 40 a game. You don't know if the defense is actually going to show up for Lincoln Riley's squad. That's the dilemma. Are they deserving of a number 9 ranking? I don't know. I really don't know because defensively they certainly haven't shown it. They haven't. And the game that they lost, it was at Utah, and it was a big shootout. They should have won the game. They blew the game. But the common theme with the USC games is they're constantly giving up a lot of points. The secondary is not very good. The front four are pretty good, but the secondary, in my opinion, smells. In fact, they smell almost as much as, well, we won't say that. Their crosstown rival over that plays in Pasadena, that'd be UCLA. Anyway, will USC cover the 21.5? I don't think so. I just don't think so. Will they go over the total? I do think so. 61.5, that's the safe play there. UCLA travels down to Tempe to play Arizona State, the 7-1, the lofty 7-1 Bruins. A little bit overrated, are playing the 3-5 Sun Devils. The Sun Devils can come in and steal this game at home. They're getting 11 points at home from UCLA in the total 66.5. Folks, they're looking for a 35 or a 34 to 31 type of a game in this one, 37-34. They're looking for a high-scoring game. Arizona State covers this one. They will win, possibly straight up, but they will certainly cover the 11 and likely go over the 66.5. Folks, that's going to do it for the show today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we're going to see you on your favorite channel about 23 hours or maybe 2 days and 23 hours. Depends on where you're at. All right, folks, we'll see you next time right here on the Sports Circus. So long, everyone.
With diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.